This episode is brought to you by the Abundant Life Masterclass. I truly do believe that women can and should have it all. If you've ever felt like you had to choose between an amazing, booming business or career, a loving marriage, amazing friendships, and having the family you desire or financial success, this masterclass is for you. I'm sharing my 5 secrets to creating a truly abundant life. Click the link in the show notes or visit mymoneymogul.com/class to sign up. Again, click the link in the show notes or visit mymoneymogul.com/class to sign up. I'll see you there.
This is the rest of your life. You have to be aware of like who you surround yourself with and really do things that are going to be good for you, not good for, not popularity, like not to keep up with the Joneses. What serves you?
You did not wake up today to be average. So why are we living that way? I truly do believe that God wants us to be wealthy. God desires for us to live our best. You can have everything that you want in this life. You can have the money, the family, the marriage, the business, the car, whatever it is that you want. You can have it. Wealth is your birthright. You deserve to be wealthy. These are the secrets of a money mogul, the keys to living an abundant life. Hey moguls, welcome back to another episode of the Secrets of a Money Mogul podcast. I'm your girl Jalesa Ann, and on today's episode, I had the pleasure of speaking with Amanda Muhammad, who's a stress management consultant out of Dallas, Texas, and a good friend of mine. And y'all, we jam-packed so much in this episode. She dropped so many gems that you are definitely going to want to stay tuned. One of the things that we are going to be discussing in this episode is what stress does to your body and how it shows up in other areas of your life. We talked about investing in yourself and your business and how you can receive a payoff from that. We discussed setting boundaries and aligning your business and your life goals with your values. And most importantly, y'all, we talked about abundance and how abundance comes after surrendering to God. Stay tuned, y'all. You do not want to miss one bit of this episode. Not to mention, Amanda leads us in a breathing exercise. So if you're feeling any kind of stress, any kind of anxiety, it's something that can help you to release that. So without further ado, enjoy today's episode and be sure to check the show notes for any important links. Hey moguls, it's your girl Jalesa Ann, and I am blessed to have one of my closest friends, my biz bestie, and she's just an amazing all-around person. I could brag on her for days. I mean, you guys already heard her bio, but I have the beautiful Miss Amanda Muhammad. Hi, Amanda.
Hey.
Welcome to the Secrets of a Money Mogul podcast. So I'm so thankful that, yes, you're welcome. I'm so thankful that you agreed to do this.
Well, of course. When you're besties, do you really have a choice? I love you.
Right. Right. I kind of was just like, yeah, you're going to be on my podcast. Okay, thank you. But I wanted Amanda to be on the podcast because, y'all, she has so many gems to share. Like, I mean, she is a wealth of knowledge, which you will soon find out. So make sure you keep listening. But I want to start out with, for those of you, they heard your formal bio, but for people that don't know you, can you just kind of give us, who is Amanda Muhammad?
Well, professionally, Amanda Muhammad is a mindfulness-based stress management consultant. So I teach people how to use mindfulness practices as a tool for stress resilience and different things that they can do throughout their day to manage their stress. As a person, Amanda Muhammad, outside of work, I don't even know how to explain it. I'm just kind of, I love art. I love music. I love food. I love, good friendship and family. And just, that's who I am.
Awesome. So I love your story, kind of like your journey. So can you tell us about how you kind of got started? What brought you to this point?
Sure. So this all started back in college. So when I was in college, my family was going through just a bunch of, adversity. And in addition to that, I was in college, right? So I was juggling a bunch of classes. I was over involved. My plate was incredibly full, and I was just not doing a good job of managing it at all. I had a lot of what I didn't recognize as stress, anxiety, and even depression when I was in college. And I was self medicating and trying to find ways to find peace that weren't really truly peace, right? Long story short, I was not sleeping, not naturally. And my mom knew that. And so she invited me out to a yoga class. And a lot of people have heard this story, but I go to this yoga class, and at the end I'm like, "Mom, somebody was snoring so loud." And she cracks up and she's like, "Mandy, that was you." And so that was the first time that I had actually slept organically. And so from there I had just kind of gotten hooked on these practices. I started doing yoga. My mom got me this little purple yoga mat from TJ Maxx, which I still have. And I started just kind of rolling it out and exploring this practice. And in addition to that, I started looking more into mindfulness practices, meditation practices, and really just finding a lot of peace in something that wasn't like a substance or wasn't something that was not healthy for me. All of it was good. And I learned more about positive thinking and positive speaking and what that was doing for me. And so I just kind of went down this path. Now, I had those tools, but I was a business kid. So I still went like corporate America, climbing the ladder. I've worked in operations, human resources, and education. And across all of those jobs, what I found was that everybody was really stressed and no one was doing anything about it. Or the things that we did do to make us feel better were defaulting to my old habits. So it was a lot of drinking and a lot of just kind of avoiding what was actually going on and not really putting in anything to really heal. And so I started pulling those practices back out that I had and getting really serious about them. And from there, it was when I was in education as a teacher, I found that when I shared them with the teachers, that they really enjoyed them. And I really enjoyed teaching them. So that's what I started to do. And I started to introduce it to my students and the teachers and anybody who would be willing to learn from me. And next thing I know, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this on the other side. Like, I love teaching this stuff. And so now that's what has brought me here to being a mindfulness based stress management consultant. Um, so this is pretty much what I spend my days doing, teaching people about how to use these practices as a tool for stress management.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's funny because stress is it you mentioned that stress is prevalent, like everywhere that you went, everyone was really
Mhm.
stressed out, but there were no tools in place. And I really do realize that, we don't learn how to deal with stress. What hurdles did you face kind of stepping into this space, if any at all?
As far as
Personally,
being
personally
I'm
or
sorry.
professionally.
Okay. I think the biggest hurdle, especially with professionally, is that one, people, they know that they're stressed, but they don't really recognize this as a resource, right? Because it can be a little foreign to be like teach people about breathing, and they're like, "Oh, it's just woo woo," right? So getting over that hurdle, for one. And I think personally, it's just, having like using them um, for myself, I guess, if that makes sense. Like sometimes like I would do it and then I wouldn't do it, right? So it's just like anybody else. It's like I knew that they worked, but if you're not consistent with it, then like you kind of go back to that default state. And so being consistent in it enough myself and then getting to that point of consistency where I could really truly see like yes it works and stick with it and be able to teach from an authentic standpoint. So really keeping up my own personal practice, I think for any teacher can be a hurdle.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I completely understand. Some things seem easier to teach than to actually have to go through them too.
Yeah.
But consistency is key. So what are some of the ways that you stay consistent or that you teach people to stay consistent with this practice?
Well, I would say me putting it in my mornings has helped me the most. So when I used to have a wake up time of like 5:16, it shifted a little bit as of late, but I would get up at 5:16. I still do it no matter what time I get up, but I'll do some type of practice just to kind of get me grounded before I start my day. So it might just be like a few deep breaths, or it might just be some different movement because I teach mindfulness with movement incorporated. Sometimes I do a little yoga practice like sun salutations or something like that. But just finding some way to kind of let myself set the tone for my day instead of let my world set the tone for my day. Because as soon as I open up my inbox or anything like that, everybody else is telling me what to do. So I find that I'm like more productive and better for myself and for the people I serve when I get this in, and understanding that allows me to kind of build it in a lot more consistently. As far as my clients go, I encourage them to do different things like setting reminders on their phone, having different things that kind of like will trigger a reminder to do something. So maybe it's like you have something that's sitting out, or you have a space in your home that you do the practice, and then doing it consistently to the point that when you see that space or when you see that thing or whatever it is that reminds you, you know that it's time for you to practice. And then also teaching them to recognize their stress. So whether it's like in their body, like they feel tension in their shoulders, or whether it's, some type of mindset, something that they're saying to themselves, teaching them to identify that. And then once that comes up, already having tools in place. So they know what to do to help them in that moment.
Awesome. So, stress is something that affects us all daily. What would you say are some of the long-term effects of stress? I know you've done some study on like the mind and the body and how they affect us. Can you talk a little bit about what are some of the symptoms or effects of being highly stressed?
Yeah, absolutely. The majority of illnesses that we face are actually a buildup of stress, whether it could be anywhere from depression and anxiety, which a lot of us are facing, but also if you look at things like heart disease, which is one of the number one killers here in America, right? When you experience high levels of stress, one of the main things that happens is your heart rate elevates. And this is whether you're being chased by a bear, or whether you have a deadline, or whether it's just comparing yourself on social media. Your stress response system responds the exact same. And so each time that that stress response gets activated and your heart rate goes up, imagine that happening over and over and over and over for years on end, and not really doing anything about it, just allowing it to be, what happens, because this is just what happens, right? We've kind of normalized our responses. And so now you go years down the line with elevated heart rates and elevated breath rates, and every single time your stress response system goes off, you've got all of these different things that are working in your body just to help you feel safe. And over time, like, it devastates every major system. So that's why we really have to get a hold on really understanding and recognizing what happens to us when we get stressed out. Because when that system activates and when that stress response goes off, and we start to kind of go down this rabbit hole of, however our bodies respond, like, we got to get a hold on it before it gets too late. I was meeting with a friend of mine last night who actually is has like a bulging disc in her back. Um, she goes to the doctor, and they recognize it as stress. Like, we literally store stress and trauma in our bodies. And so that's why it's so important that we do something along the way to start to dissolve it and like give it an outlet, because that's why down the line we have all of these illnesses that start to flare up.
Wow, wow, that's very interesting. And I've always known that we've harbored stress in our body. Um, and that it shows up in different ways in your life. And I know that statistically, they say money is like one of the number one reasons why people stress out. Is that what you found too, or in your research, or?
Across my clients, money does come up in every single session that I do. So money definitely is a big stressor, but for me, with my clients, it really depends on the populations that I'm that I'm working with too. So you see money come up a lot. You see like having too many things to try to juggle, especially with my teachers, right? They've got so much on their plates and constantly bombarding on something else, something else, something else, right? And not really having a way to manage all of the tasks that they have on hand. That's huge for the people that I work with. You also see a lot of like family stressors, right? So with the kind of age population that I'm mostly working with, you've got a lot of folks who are starting to like have to take care of their parents. And so things like that have been very stressful for them. And then I also work with a lot of teachers and mental health professionals. And so a lot of times it's just simply working with stressed populations, which at this point is hard for any of us to avoid, right? But
Right.
just simply working with stressed populations, there's something called secondary stress and vicarious stress and trauma. And so that we can actually absorb their stress, because our nervous systems, they actually match. They mirror each other when we're around other people who are stressed. And so we can actually start to absorb that and show symptoms as if we're experiencing it just because we have so much interaction with it. So money is huge. And then apparently the things that you do in the process to getting your money, right? So a lot of workplace environmental stressors are what I'm seeing the most.
Wow. Okay. And if someone is noticing symptoms of stress, elevated heart rate or just tension in the body or anything like that, what is one tool or a couple tools that you would maybe suggest to them to just get started?
Sure. Well, I will say that, of course, as a mindfulness teacher, I'm going to tell you to breathe, right? Which is can be one of the most annoying things to hear when you're angry. But seriously, that deep breathing, it actually works to activate what's called your parasympathetic nervous system. And all that means is it works to activate your relaxed response. So that ability to calm yourself down, it gets turned on by deep breathing. Now, I don't want you to just deep breathe when you're angry. I want you to deep breathe before you even get there, because I need your brain to be able to find it. You know, when you're angry, like you can't even think. That's why when people are like, just breathe, you're like, I don't want to hear, just breathe. I need to, I want you
Mhm.
to already have things in place, right? And already have your brain needs to be able to find that resource when you're stressed out. So do something like every single day, like I say in my mornings, even if it's just taking a few deep breaths. I want to build that habit. It's just like anything else. Like if you are a basketball player, or if you want to like master a recipe, you have to do it over and over and over again. And the same thing occurs when you want to manage your stress. It has to literally be, you have to practice it, just like anything you want to be good at. So I definitely say breathing exercises, and just in the spirit of busyness, because of the age that we're living in, we always feel like we have to be doing something. And so taking that time to just like do nothing, right? We're always like, if I'm driving, I'm listening to podcasts. If I'm cleaning, I'm listening to an audiobook. If I'm, if I'm home, I'm going to be working, or I'm going to catch up with a friend or something, right? So scheduling in time to like take a break, like schedule in your stress management. And even if it's, 15 minutes of just like sitting on the couch, it doesn't have to be meditation. I realize that that's not for everyone, but just finding some way to kind of step back from your stressful environment and be able to look at it from an observation standpoint instead of just being in it. And then giving yourself that space also allows you to tap into probably the biggest part of managing your stress, which is perspective. So give yourself time to really see the things that you're stressed about and how you're allowing yourself to respond to them, so that you can see if there's a better way that you need to tap into it. But what happens is that we experience stress and trauma at such high levels that we're just constantly in this state of reaction. So we need to give ourselves time and space to step back and see if there's a more optimal way for us to respond to the things that are stressing us out, instead of just being such a reactive person. So those are my two big tips: is um, definitely doing some type of breathing exercise, and I can share one with you for your viewers if you'd like. And then also, or your listeners, and then, sorry, and then also just stepping back, giving yourself time and space and look using perspective as a tool to shift the way that you are um, experiencing a situation.
Okay, I love that. And I definitely want to have you lead us in a breathing exercise. Not now though. We're gonna close out the episode with it. So you guys have
Okay,
to
sure.
wait for it. But
Sure.
I want to talk more about you and
Okay.
your journey as an entrepreneur because I know that you teach people, mental health professionals, teachers, you do some corporate trainings in this, and you also help entrepreneurs with self-care, and as a
Mhm.
mom and an entrepreneur and all of that. I want to talk about how has your entrepreneurship journey been? Like, what are some of the things that you have overcome, or what are some of the lessons that you have learned?
Ooh, so many lessons. So I've been an entrepreneur for it's been three 3 years and 4 months since I've started. You know where I started. Like I started entrepreneurship teaching yoga out of my house. I mean, just taking whatever I could, just trying to start this business, right? And it has just kind of gradually evolved. It has right now. It is nothing like I thought that it would have been when I first started as a yoga teacher. And at this point, I'm not even really teaching yoga classes. Um, but yeah, it's been one heck of a journey. So I would say some of the biggest things that I've learned, like this year has really been a year of like really knowing and understanding my worth, right? So like one of the things I've talked to you about before, of course, is like how I'm not teaching yoga classes, right? And while they are so great and they're good for me, you know, physically and mentally, and that doesn't mean that I can't take or practice myself. It's just like really learning how to look at things from a business lens, right? Like I would look at, you know, my yoga classes versus my workshops and trainings, and I'm like, for an hour of my time, I really have to assess like how am I going to ask for this and then ask for that, right?
Mhm.
And so really looking at what is the best business decision. I can still do those things, but really making sure that whatever I'm doing, I really want to be doing so that I don't have to do it with an attitude. Because when I end up spending my time and I know that I could be using this time doing something else or something that I really feel is going to like bring me or my business value, then I get a little irritated, just being honest, you know? Um, and then let's see, I would definitely say I am learning more and more like the value of community, not big community, but intimate, strong community. Like, I appreciate you so much, you know, because we have been doing this together for I don't know how long at this point, right? Probably 3 years
Years.
and 4 months or more.
Right.
But seriously, like, you know, being able to have someone that you feel like comfortable with sharing your journey and being able to talk about like those hard times, like that is what has helped me to build resilience, like whether you know it or not. Even, you know, those moments when I've been able to just kind of like vent something out, you know, I know we're on a no negativity challenge right now, but just
Right.
having that genuine outlet and someone who understands it, right? So like
Mhm.
it's okay to have, you know, all kinds of friends, but as an entrepreneur, and especially, you know, I'm doing this full time now, it's a different kind of stress. Really, it's a
Mhm.
different kind of journey when you are literally trying to make this company like yours and really trying to run a company. And so just having good people around you and where it's mutually beneficial. You know how I feel about I get a lot of people that reach out to me and it's always one-sided, and it can be draining. You know, it's like I have a service-based business, and in addition to that, like I'm in school and juggling a lot of different things. And so I appreciate so much when I know that there's mutual value in a relationship. And sometimes it gets it seems harder and harder to come across, but when you have your core people, it makes you appreciate them all that much more. um, and then really just getting serious about my business and investing in my business, which is something that you have taught me a lot about. I think that a lot of times, well, I can speak from experience, like you're hesitant to spend money like on your business because you're trying to make money, right? But the way that I see it now, even like, we've recently invested in a retreat, something like that. The value that I've been able to put back into my business has already paid for itself, right?
Right.
So I recognize and understand the value of like coaching and the value of paying someone for their time and their services and making sure that I'm getting paid for my time and my services. A lot of people, they want to try to like brush you off because of what you do, but like I had to recognize that like every person is not my people and I can't please everybody. I can't answer every, hey, can I ask you a no, like setting boundaries has been huge and just recognizing your worth and your value and making sure that you are really allowing like every step of like your business process to be truly in line. We talked about this too, with what you believe and your values and all of those different things. So I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but yeah, those are some of my biggest lessons I've learned so far.
No, that's good. I mean, and those are awesome lessons. And something that I think we both strive for. Like, I think I've done a podcast episode in the past where I talked about the sense of community and having those people that you can really call on and that you can lean on, but not being a leech, right? Because nobody wants a leech in their life where you're just like sucking the life out of the people around you, but also being able to pour into those people just as much as they pour into you. And it's kind of like
Yeah.
you help each other out, you build
Mm-hmm.
each other up. So collaboration over competition, especially with women, but the right collaboration, not just any
Yeah.
collaboration, strategic
Yeah.
collaboration.
Yeah, I definitely will say that, just in the spirit of what you're saying too, with like making sure that it's the right collaboration. That's another thing that I really had to learn, especially in the age of social media, is like, uh, well, profit over popularity, right?
Mhm.
And not just being worried about like what something looks like. And, I don't care about likes or any of that stuff. I need to focus on what is actually going to grow my business. This is not just like, like a fun brand or something that I'm doing. Like, this is literally how I keep my lights on. Right. So focusing on what's going to grow that and making sure that like the value that I put out there or the people that I'm like interacting with on like that serious of a level,
Mhm.
that it's really, that it's not just because of like their status or or what they think my status is or something like that, that it's really genuine and really valuing the people that you're working with and interacting with, like that these are like good people.
Mhm. I love that. Love that. So let's see. So before you lead us through our breathing exercise, where you're going to help us to de-stress, which I know is going to be amazing, I'm going to kind of give you these rapid fire questions. I just kind of started this where I'm going to be asking everybody these same 7 or so questions. So it
Okay.
starts out fun. So the first question is, what is your favorite food?
Girl, you already know Asian food. I don't know how to like break down that category. Just give it to me. Thai food, or pad thai, pad ki mao, spring rolls, all of it.
Mm.
I can't get enough.
Calamari.
Calamari, all of that.
Yes, yes. Okay. And what's your favorite dessert?
Ooh, I don't eat that much dessert, but when I do, like one of those apple pies with like the crumbly top. You know what I mean?
Ooh,
Like, but
yeah.
not with the nuts, and then like ice cream. Yeah,
I did
apple pie and
not
ice
know
cream.
that. I
Yeah.
because you don't eat a lot of sweets, like I never see you eat like pie or anything, but that is good to know. I think those are called Granny Smith apple pies that have like
Maybe
crumble.
so. Yeah. And my mom makes them like, so we have pie night once a year, the night before Thanksgiving. And so that's the pie that she always makes for me. So I probably eat it once a year. I do eat a lot of Twizzlers though. Don't be fooled.
King size bags.
Oh, we don't have to talk about it.
Okay. So pie with the crumble, not the regular apple pie, but with the crumble
Yep.
and ice cream, vanilla ice cream.
Yes.
Okay, next question is, what is one thing you want people to know about you that they can't find out about you on your website or social media?
Huh. Let me see. Probably, I don't know. I don't know if people can tell like how goofy I am. Like
No,
people
they
probably don't know that. Like I think maybe, so you know this about me. When it comes to business, like I am a completely different person. Like
can't.
I'm very like it has to be professional. It has to be like organized. I'm very like very stern in the way that I operate business. And then me, like in a personal world, it's like it's totally different. And just like it just kind of turns on like a different part of me, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and like I don't see it as like a bad thing. Like I'm just like not that person. But I guess maybe I have an ability to kind of like turn that off. And then when that's off, it's just like fun and a lot of like energetic, and I don't know, I guess it's just that I yeah.
She's that big nerd.
Yeah, I'm a big time nerd, that's for sure. And I love business, but I also am a lover of life and art and music and things like that, and I don't think people really see that as much.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Nice. What is one thing that fills you up or helps you recharge?
Prayer.
Mhm.
Prayer, like that's a has become such a big part of my life. I lived life very unstructured for a very long time and followed what I wanted and not what God wanted. And I learned very quickly when I left my full time job that I could not do this without Him, and that I needed to really tap into like discernment and taking time to really talk to and listen to God. Um, so, yeah, prayer, hands down.
Wow. Yes. Prayer will do it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What is one book, TV show, movie, or event that has changed your life and why?
Well, you know The Secret,
Mm,
because it was like my first introduction really into just like positive thinking and positive speaking. And that was a book that back when I told you about my college days,
mhm.
um, that was the book that I had picked up. Someone gave it to my mom, someone from church gave it to my mom, and I picked it up and took it back down to college. And I started gifting out that book. Remember, I used to keep like 7 at my house at a time and hand them out to my clients. And,
Yeah.
that book just helped me a lot with recognizing how much power is in my words.
Mm.
Um, Before I really understood life and death is in the power of the tongue, that's where I, really had seen it and got my first taste of it.
Yes, I love it. Start with The Secret, and then she went biblical on us. Yes, girl. Okay, what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
um, do it for you. So I did a lot of things that I think, well, that other people wanted me to do, or like they never really felt like natural to me. I never really felt comfortable in certain environments and things like that. And I did them anyway because everybody else did them. And so I really let peer pressure take over a lot of, my life. And I wish that I wouldn't have done it. I'm also glad that I did it, because had I not done that, you know how all things work together. So had I not done that, I would not be where I am now. But definitely, if I could tell my younger self, or what I tell a lot of my students, is to like do it for you. I work with quite a bit of kids, right? And
Mhm.
especially these high school students. And I always end up in this like conversation with them where I'm like, you guys could, well, every now and then I'll get like a group where you have like this group that you have some kids that are like wanting to try a mindfulness practice or wanting to pay attention, and you see their friends kind of like nudging them like, oh, you don't have to do this. This is, whatever. Right. And I always talk to them about that. Like, pay attention to who does not want you to do well. If you are saying that you don't want to do something, or that you do want to do something for yourself and this is a good thing, and you have someone that's trying to encourage you not to, pay attention to that. Like, notice who doesn't want you to, like, if someone is standing up here telling you that this is going to be good for your stress, that this is going to be good to help you get through finals week, or, whatever I'm doing, and someone is trying to distract you and you're trying to pay attention to that because you know that you need it, notice that, right? And then also, like, always knowing your room. So wherever you step into, because like one thing that I'll start offering my students next year is I plan to give out some book scholarships, and they don't know this yet. But, I'm working with like junior and senior students, so giving them book scholarships for college, right? But when I come into a room, I'm going to be looking for the person who is paying attention, looking for the person who is engaged, right? And how often do we miss out on opportunities because we're not aware of our surroundings, and we're just like goofing off and we're just whatever, but we miss out on so much opportunity. Or I could be offering an internship, or I've got friends that work for colleges and all kinds of things. You never know. And then when you need to reach back for a referral or something like that, and that's not only something for them in high school. I mean, this is the rest of your life. You have to be aware of like who you surround yourself with, and really do things that are going to be good for you, not good for, not popularity, like not to keep up with the Joneses, what serves you.
Right, right. Oh, I love that. I hope y'all got those keys. I hope y'all wrote all that down. Um, so the second to last question is, how would you define abundance?
Ooh, how would I define abundance? Just, I would define it as, well, overflow. And like, so what I'm recognizing about abundance, and especially the more that I study biblically, is that abundance comes after surrender, right? So I think I sent you like a little devotional that I had the other day. But what I've recognized in every story where there's like an abundant ending is that before they were able to really get that abundance, they surrendered. So they let go of like trying to have all of that control and everything, and said, you know what, like, God, lead me. And then abundance came in. And not only did they have enough, they had more than enough. There was overflow for them to share, right? Um, so yeah, when I think of abundance, I think of like overflow. I think of more than enough. I think of gratitude. I think of just really feeling more than secure, and then sharing. So it's not just for you, it's also being able to use all of that rollover for pouring into someone else and allowing others to be abundant too.
Wow, that's yes. I feel like that is God speaking through you, because there are so many of us who
Mhm.
need to know that surrender is a part of abundance too, being able to lay down our burdens so that God can pick them up and bless us with overflow. That was right on point. And the
Yeah,
last question, I want people to know how they can connect with you. How can they follow you? How can they get in your training? Tell them all that.
sure. So you can follow me on Instagram. It's Mako Mindfulness. And then also, if you go to makomindfulness.com, it's actually a resource site. So if you're looking to get more tips on gratitude, affirmations, mindfulness practices, there's different resources on there. And you can also opt into my email list that will give you weekly tips on mindfulness and stress management. Um, Feel free to click up at the top on services or amandamuhammad.com, and it will take you over to my actual website, which is my personal one when people want to work with me individually. And you can learn more about the services that I offer. If you're looking for someone to host a workshop, or if you're interested in becoming a mindfulness teacher, I actually train teachers. So you can find that information over there as well.
Awesome. And don't worry, I won't make you guys look forward very hard. It will all be in the show notes. So you'll just be able to scroll up and click. So thank you, Amanda, for coming on. Before we
You're
leave,
welcome.
I would love for you to just lead us in a quick breathing exercise that maybe anybody can use, whether they're in the office or having a stressful day with the kids, or entrepreneurship is overwhelming, anything, just a short exercise.
Sure. Okay. So wherever you are, I'll just have you sit up nice and straight, allowing your ears to sit above your shoulders and your shoulders to be above your hips. Now you can bring your eyes to a close or almost close, so just a low gaze if that feels okay. And just take a moment to check in with your breath. So just noticing any movement that you may be feeling in your shoulders and your back, your belly. And just settling in with your breath for a moment. And I'll invite you to bring your hands onto your belly. Just place them on your belly if it feels okay. And then just noticing your belly move as you breathe. And then letting all of the air out on an exhale. I'll invite you to join me on one deep inhale, breathing in, really feeling that belly expand into the hands. And then breathing out, allowing the belly to fall back towards your spine. Breathing in, belly expands. Breathing out, allowing it to fall on back. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Slowly releasing your hands from the belly. And just taking a moment to think of one thing that you're grateful for as you continue to breathe. You can flutter your eyes open. Thank you for allowing me to share my practice with you and create a great day.
Yes, thank you. Such a pleasure having you.
You're welcome.
Yes, have an amazing day.
Thank you.